Guys, so the spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 244 has been released, so I'll briefly go over some of the spoilers and give my take on what I think will happen. Kusakabe says those who can use reverse curse technique, those who want to die or don't mind dying should join the battle against Sukuna, and the rest will stay as support. I like this from Kusakabe. He has been shown in the series as a comedic relief and a joke type character, and he himself encountered Sukuna briefly back in Shibuya, and this was 15-fingered Sukuna back then, and he just froze up not saying anything. But now from what it seems like in this chapter, he's taking a final stand. Gojo is dead, Hashimo is dead, Nanami is dead. So many powerful and senior characters have now passed away, so he has to take responsibility now. And I'm enjoying this new leadership role he has been playing. Even in the Gojo vs Sukuna fight, I enjoyed his commentary. He's one of those characters that may not be the strongest, but has a lot to say and has a lot of insight, so I enjoy that about his character. Now there's a scene, and it looks like a flashback scene before the Gojo vs Sukuna fight, where all the jujutsu sorcerers, including Miwa, Higurama, Yuji, and the rest of the students were planning on using deadly sentencing against Sukuna, as one of the punishments set out by Judgment is confiscation, which prevents the defendant, if found guilty by Judgment, will prevent them from using curse techniques. Now Higurama apparently found all the crimes Sukuna has committed ever since Yuji ate the first finger and had Sukuna take over his body, which are taking over Yuji's body, attempted murder of Gojo, murdered Yuji when he took out his heart. Even though he came back to life, it can still be seen as attempted murder. The attempted murder of Megami, the murder of 2 cursed user high school girls, attempted murder of several citizens in Shibuya, murdered a cursed user with a side tail, and lastly, he committed arson, which is a massive understatement. The guy literally created hell on earth in Shibuya. Higurama summarized the sentencing price. 1 murder serves a prison sentence of 10 to 15 years, 2 murders is a life sentence or a death penalty, and 3 murders or more is a death penalty. We see a scene where Mei was using her crows to briefly distract Sukuna, and we see scenes of both Yuji and Higurama fighting off against Sukuna, with the final scene showing all 3 characters in a courtroom. The editor's comments at the end mentioned, "Will they turn the tables? The desperate courtroom battle now begins." Now this is what we have been waiting for. Well, me personally, having Yuji and Sukuna fight it out in a courtroom instead of in a battlefield is a nice change, since we had just endless fighting ever since the beginning of Gojo vs Sukuna. At least now there's a bit of change of pace now. Now, how would this court case work? Well, one option I think could happen is both Yuji and Higurama gang up on Sukuna in court. Higurama will be the main counsel, with Yuji being co-counsel for this case. Higurama has already built up a list of Sukuna's crimes, which he will make the case in court for Sukuna to now have the death penalty. But I believe in this chapter there was a discussion on whether or not Sukuna's previous crimes will also be judged by Judgment. I believe the characters were having a discussion on the statute of limitations and whether or not it applies to Sukuna. Now, if I was Sukuna's lawyer, or in this case Sukuna himself, arguing against all the allegations placed against me, there's a few legitimate arguments that he can make. For starters, taking over Yuji's body the first time, it was Yuji who intended to eat the first finger. He had Megumi screaming at him not to eat the finger, but he did it anyway. Yuji ate the finger in the hope that he will gain power and strength to protect his friends and school from the cursed spirit, which Sukuna did end up doing. The attempted murder of Gojo. I'm assuming this allegation is from the first encounter they had back in episode 2 of season 1, where Gojo just sat on Sukuna, disrespecting him like mad. You can clearly see in that encounter that when Sukuna was trying to attack Gojo, Sukuna immediately clocked on that Gojo wasn't using his speed in order to avoid his attack. And since Sukuna is over 1,000 years old, he can say that he already knew in that moment that Gojo was a limitless user. Gojo sent him flying, and just before Sukuna launched a counterattack, Sukuna specifically said, "You jujutsu sorcerers are always trouble," implying that Sukuna himself didn't feel he was strong enough at that time to cause any damage to Gojo. So the attempted murder of Gojo cannot stand because he clearly wasn't strong enough to do any damage to him, let alone actually kill him. Sukuna can say in this encounter that he was just testing his new body and strength out against the strongest sorcerer in the world. who he himself just seconds earlier claimed that he is the strongest to Yuji. So how can it be attempted murder when Sukuna never had a chance against Gojo to begin with? The attempted murder of Yuji. Sukuna makes a binding vow with Yuji later on so he can make the argument that he always intended to revive Yuji, as he did previously when he recovered and regenerated his arm back in episode 4 of season 1. So Sukuna has done it already, there's evidence for it there, so he can make a case for it that he would have revived Yuji anyway. I feel this allegation might be tough for Sukuna to argue against, but I think the revival route is his best way of winning against that allegation. The attempted murder of Megumi, well, he can easily debunk that by saying he was training Megumi. He was clearly saying phrases like, "Show me more, Megumi," in that brief encounter between himself and Megumi. In the amount of times he protected Megumi as well. He healed Megumi's injuries, protecting him from Mahoraga, and even after beating Mahoraga, dropped him off with Shoko and Principal Yaga to get medical attention. The next 3 allegations, Sukuna can't deny he did murder those 2 girls that were with Geto originally. He did massacre the people of Shibuya, and he did kill off that annoying curse user with the side tail. Regarding the killing of the 2 girls, Sukuna can say they summoned him on purpose for murder. They wanted to use Sukuna to kill Kenjaku. So Sukuna can say those 2 girls were not innocent themselves and were planning on committing horrifying crimes themselves. The massacre in Shibuya. Well, Sukuna can say that the only way to defeat Mahoraga was by using his malevolent shrine to the most extreme. And he did narrow down his domain expansion, proving that his intent was to kill off Mahoraga, and by narrowing the range of his domain expansion, he prevented a further slaughter of innocent civilians, and by burning Mahoraga to pieces, of course there would be arson. Arson was necessary to beat Mahoraga. And finally, the killing of that last guy. There's nothing he can say other than that character is probably the most annoying character in the whole series. So Sukuna killing him, Judgment might actually turn his head the other way regarding that crime. Because let's be honest, no one, and I'm sure including Judgment, likes that character. But this is looking really exciting. I'm not sure how many of you guys have watched Suits, but your tribal chief is a big Suits fan. And a few years back, your tribal chief was also studying law himself. So seeing this type of battle between the main character and the strongest villain play out in a courtroom is something I would have never imagined would happen. And especially if Sukuna can actually make a case against the allegations, then we will be seeing a massive courtroom drama play out. It will also show off how quick-witted and sharp Sukuna is in his responses. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that side of his character displayed in the courtroom. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know how you think the trial of Sukuna will play out. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the Shaman Tribe.